You ever have one of those moments where someone hurts your kid? Not physically, but in that subtle, invisible way that leaves a bruise on their spirit. And you realize, in a flash, you've been letting them get away with too much for too long? Yeah. That was me last year. My name's Jillian, and this is the story of how my daughter's own aunt forgot her birthday gift. And why that moment changed everything. My daughter Zoe had just turned 6. She's the kind of kid who gets excited about everything. Sprinkles on pancakes, worms in the garden, new crayons. So when her birthday was coming up, she started planning it 2 months in advance. She wanted a unicorn-themed strawberry cupcakes and one thing more than anything else in the world. A frozen karaoke machine. She'd seen it at Target and told literally every living soul about it, including the mailman and the neighbor's cat. But the person she told the most? Her Aunt Mel. Melissa is my husband's older sister. You know the type. Designer everything, always talking about herself, always a little too busy, but still manages to post inspirational quotes about family first every Sunday morning like clockwork. She'd always had this weird, overly performative affection for Zoe. Took selfies with her at every family gathering, called her my little superstar, and bought her flashy toys that screamed more Instagrammable than thoughtful. But Zoe didn't see all that. She just saw her Aunt Mel. And she adored her. So, of course, in her 6-year-old mind, Aunt Mel would definitely come through with the karaoke machine. She made a card for her in advance. Pink glitter, crayon hearts, the whole deal. "Thank you for making me feel special," she wrote in bubble letters. She hid it under her pillow the night before, grinning in her sleep. The day of the party came. We'd turned our tiny backyard into a rainbow tornado. Balloons, streamers, way too much sugar. Zoe was buzzing with excitement, running to the door every time it opened. But Aunt Mel didn't show. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Kids were eating cupcakes. Zoe kept asking me, did she get lost? And I kept saying, she'll be here soon, baby. She finally arrived, 2 hours late, wearing a leopard print dress and oversized sunglasses like she'd stepped off a runway. No explanation. No apology. Just a big dramatic, "Hello my birthday girl." And a smile so fake it could have been factory made. And empty hands. Not a single thing in them. She knelt down, kissed Zoe on the cheek and said, "Oh shoot, Aunt Mel forgot your gift. I'll bring it next week, I swear." She said it like it was some quirky little oopsie. Like my daughter hadn't spent weeks counting down the days with her name at the top of every sentence. Zoe smiled, because that's what sweet kids do when they don't want to make someone feel bad. She said, "It's okay, Aunt Mel. Maybe you're busy." That right there, that crushed me. I saw it in her eyes, the confusion, the tiny flicker of hurt she didn't know how to name. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind. The machine, the singing, the hug. And instead she got a shrug and a hollow promise. And Melissa? She just kept laughing, chatting with people like she hadn't just tossed my kid's heart aside. I should have said something. Maybe I could have. But in that moment I smiled. I thanked her for coming. I handed her a plate of cake. Because I wasn't going to cause a scene. Not yet. But I knew something in me had snapped. It wasn't just the gift. It wasn't even the lateness. It was the casualness of it all. The way she made my daughter feel forgettable and called it love. That night, after the decorations came down and the last cupcake was scraped off the porch, I tucked Zoe into bed. She was still wearing her glittery birthday crown. She asked if I thought Aunt Mel's gift would be a surprise delivery. I kissed her forehead and said, "Maybe, baby." But I was already planning something else. Something slow, quiet, not explosive. I didn't want to embarrass Melissa. I wanted her to feel it. Not with yelling, but with something stronger. A lesson she'd have to sit with. Because no one gets to make my daughter feel like an afterthought. And Melissa? She had no idea what was coming. After the party, the house was quiet again. Just the hum of the dishwasher and Zoe's soft breathing coming from her room. She was curled up in her blanket, still wearing that birthday crown, even though one side was bent and half the glitter had rubbed off. I sat on the edge of the couch holding her card, the one she made for Melissa. "Thank you for making me feel special." 6-year-olds don't fake things like that. He meant it. And Melissa? She left that party without even asking if Zoe had opened anything fun. Just waved goodbye and drove off in her Lexus like she hadn't just skipped the one promise Zoe actually counted on. That's the thing that got to me the most. Melissa always had an excuse. She was traveling for work, tied up in meetings, doing something spontaneous. But behind every excuse was a truth she never wanted to admit. She didn't value people the way she said she did. She liked performing love, not practicing it. And I had let her get away with it because it was easier. Because I didn't want to start drama. Because sometimes as a mom you swallow your feelings to keep the peace. But not this time. That night I sent Melissa a casual text. Just a little seed. Hey, Zoe's still talking about the karaoke machine. I think she's just a little confused, thought it was coming at the party. She even made you a card. She replied with a laughing emoji and, oh, I feel terrible. Tell her I'll make it up to her. Promise. I've just been slammed with work. Slammed. The woman posts 5 times a day about her workouts and nail appointments but can't manage a 10-minute Amazon order. I waited 2 more days, then sent another message. Zoe was crying a little tonight. She keeps asking if she did something wrong. She won't let go of that card. I think she just feels forgotten. That part? Only partly true. Zoe hadn't cried, but she was quieter than usual. She had this way of withdrawing when something disappointed her. No tantrums, just this small silence that filled the room like a fog. Melissa panicked. I could tell by how fast she replied. OMG. I feel sick. What can I do? Should I call her? I'll bring the gift this weekend, okay? And that's when I knew she finally felt it. Not guilt exactly, more like fear. Fear of how she looked. Of what this said about her. It wasn't about Zoe. Never really was. But that was fine by me. I told her, you can bring the gift Saturday. But I'll be the one giving it to Zoe. Not you. There was a long pause in our chat. Like she didn't know how to respond. Eventually she typed, I'll drop it off. So that Saturday morning she showed up on my doorstep. No makeup, no flashy outfit, just sunglasses and a Target bag. Inside, the frozen karaoke machine. Still in the box. Not wrapped. Not personalized. No card. Just a receipt crammed between the flaps like it was an afterthought. She handed it to me like she was handing over her car keys. Impersonal, like she wanted it to be over. I hope this helps, she said, eyes darting everywhere but mine. I smiled politely. Thanks. I'll take it from here. And that night, while Zoe was asleep, I sat on the floor with that box and actually made it something worth opening. Wrapped it in pink and blue star paper. Tied a sparkly silver ribbon around it. And most importantly, I slipped Zoe's handmade card, the one she made for Melissa, inside. Because Melissa was never going to appreciate it. But Zoe still needed closure. The next morning I told Zoe a white lie. I said, you know what? I found this special gift that I think someone meant to give you, but they weren't sure how. So I'm giving it to you instead. She tore it open, eyes wide, and when she saw what it was, she gasped like she was meeting Elsa in person. She looked at me and said, you remembered. I didn't correct her. I just said, of course I did. And later that day I made sure to post a picture, not of the machine, but of Zoe smiling with the card in one hand and a paintbrush in the other. Because while the gift finally arrived, what came after was something better. A lesson. And Melissa? She was about to learn one of her own. I didn't hear from Melissa after she dropped off the karaoke machine. Not a text, not a, did Zoe like it? Just silence. She did her part and that was enough for her. Clean hands, conscience cleared. Or so she thought. But see, what Melissa didn't understand, what she's never understood, is that sometimes the hurt doesn't come from what you forget. It comes from what you pretend never mattered in the first place. She didn't want to see the fallout of her absence. She didn't want to know how Zoe had been sitting on the porch the morning after her birthday, still holding that card, asking if we should check the mailbox just in case. Melissa assumed the gift would fix everything. That she could plug the emotional hole with plastic and batteries and glittery packaging. But what was broken couldn't be fixed with a toy. Still, I didn't want Zoe to carry the weight of an adult's inconsistency. She deserved joy. And if I couldn't rewrite the moment, I could at least reroute it. So I made a choice. That night, after she went to bed, I sat with the karaoke machine box in front of me on the kitchen table. Looked so plain. So generic. Like someone had bought it because they had to, not because they wanted to see Zoe's face light up. And it felt wrong to just hand it over like that. So I made it right. I dug through the closet and found a leftover roll of pink and blue star wrapping paper. The same we'd used on her birthday goodie bags. I carefully wrapped the box, smoothing out every crease like it was a love letter. I tied a silver ribbon around it, curled the ends with scissors. And then I took Zoe's card, the one she made for Melissa, and gently tucked it inside the box. Why? Because Melissa didn't earn it. But I needed Zoe to release it. I didn't want her to keep holding on to hope someone might come back for it. I wanted her to give it away, unknowingly, to a moment that would never break her heart again. The next morning I gave it to her. I said, "Someone left this behind for you. I think they meant well. But sometimes grown-ups don't show love the way kids deserve. So I wanted to give it to you properly." Zoe opened it slowly, eyes wide with curiosity. When she saw the karaoke machine, she let out a little squeal and immediately hugged the box like it was a puppy. "It's exactly the one I wanted," she beamed. She didn't ask who gave it to her. And I didn't tell her. We spent the whole afternoon singing off-key Disney songs in the living room. She made me sing Let It Go 3 times. Even our dog ran and hid under the couch. That night when I tucked her in, she whispered, "Today felt like my real birthday." I kissed her cheek and said, "That's because it was." Later, after she was asleep, I took out my phone. I didn't post a picture of the karaoke machine. I didn't brag about the gift. Instead, I posted a photo of Zoe at the table earlier that week, painting quietly, head down, ponytail swinging, cheeks smudged with pink marker. Caption read, "Zoe's been exploring her big heart lately. She made a gift for someone who forgot to show up for her. Then she let it go. So proud of this little artist learning to love without needing applause." It was subtle, but sharp. And I know Melissa saw it. Because within minutes she liked the photo. Then unliked it. Then viewed my story twice. But she didn't message me. Didn't ask what it meant. Because she knew. He knew. That was the twist. It was never about the karaoke machine. It wasn't even about Zoe's birthday. It was about the quiet, painful moments where a child starts to believe they're not worth showing up for. And a mother's job to make damn sure that belief never takes root. Melissa thought her guilt could be erased with a receipt. But she never realized the real damage was in the message her absence sent. So I sent my own. And unlike hers, mine was loud without saying a word. It's been almost a year since that birthday. No more texts from Melissa. No apologies. No explanations. Just silence. Like we were a minor inconvenience in her otherwise curated life. And you know what? I don't miss her. The thing about people like Melissa is, they're only there when it's convenient. When there's a camera pointed at them. When they get to play the doting aunt or the cool sister. But when it comes to the little, quiet moments that actually make a family, they're ghost. In the weeks after Zoe got the karaoke machine, something changed in her. Not in a dramatic way, but in the small details only a mom would notice. She stopped asking about Aunt Mel. Stopped drawing her in pictures. The card she'd once kept under her pillow? Forgotten. Instead, she started painting more. Singing to herself while coloring. Creating her own joy. One afternoon we were walking back from the park and she said, "Mom, do you think people love you even if they don't say it a lot?" I took a breath, crouched down beside her and said, "Sometimes, yeah. But real love doesn't just say, it shows." She nodded like she understood. I think I want to love people that show it. It gutted me. Not because she was sad, but because she was growing. See, my revenge wasn't some big dramatic blow-up. I didn't scream at Melissa or drag her name through the mud. I didn't confront her at Thanksgiving or send a passive-aggressive family email. I didn't need to. I just let her reveal herself. And I let Zoe learn something important, but safe. That it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to expect more. And it's more than okay to walk away when someone can't give it to you. A few months later, Zoe asked me if she could give one of her paintings to her teacher. She made a picture of a big heart, half painted in red, half in gold glitter with the words, "Thank you for seeing me." It was one of those moments where I had to turn away because the tears came too fast. She was learning. Not just to express herself, but to value people who show up. Who stay. Who follow through. That's the thing kids don't always get to learn when adults keep disappointing them. They either normalize the hurt, or they shut down. But Zoe? She grew stronger. Wiser. And still soft. That was the real win. A few weeks later, Melissa tried to reach out. A vague message on Facebook. "Hope Zoe's doing great. I've been meaning to catch up." I didn't reply. I just archived the message. Because here's what people like her never expect. That the consequences of their actions are sometimes quiet. No screaming, no chaos. Just distance. And when they finally look up from their busy lives, they find that the people they thought would always be there have simply moved on. And I don't say that with bitterness. I say it with peace. Because this wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. It was about breaking a pattern. About making sure my daughter didn't inherit my tendency to tolerate inconsistency just to keep the peace. Somewhere along the way I realized I wasn't just angry at Melissa. I was angry at myself, for letting it slide so many times before. For giving her so many chances just because she's family. But that birthday, that moment when I saw Zoe smile through the disappointment, trying to protect her aunt from feeling bad, that was the line. I wasn't just protecting my daughter from a forgotten gift. I was protecting her from a lifetime of believing that being forgotten was okay. So no, I don't regret what I did. Not the wrapping paper, not the Instagram post, not even the silence that followed. Because one day years from now, when Zoe's older and maybe has a daughter of her own, she'll remember the year Aunt Mel forgot her birthday. But she'll also remember what came after. She'll remember that her mom saw her hurt and did something about it. That love isn't loud or flashy, it's consistent. It's present. It wraps your gift in stars and ties the ribbon just right. Not because it has to, but because it wants to. And that's the kind of love I want her to carry forward. Not Melissa's version. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.